And we are live. Welcome everybody to another live stream. This one's going to be on Deuteronomy 19. Let's read the law together. Okay, so all right, let's okay, we're just going to do a test real quick. Is it what are you seeing the screen with the Israelites blowing with the priests and Levites blowing the trumpet? Okay, that's what you're saying there. Okay, but I think you're on a delay though. Okay, let me change this out real quick. Sorry, folks, technical difficulties. Okay, so let me go stop screen sharing. Let me go to present, share screen. All right, I don't think it works the way I thought it might work. So I'm just going to go with share the entire screen. All right. Okay, so this is another installment of Let's Read the Law Together, Deuteronomy 19. And here we go. Deuteronomy 19:1. When the Lord thy God hath cut off the nations, whose land the Lord thy God giveth thee, and thou succeedest them and dwellest in their cities and in their houses. All right, so this is talking about the Israelites coming out of the wilderness, going into the land of Canaan, and dispossessing the Canaanites of what they have. So that would be their cities, their buildings, their farmlands, everything. They dispossess them. These are the commands that the Lord is giving. Okay, and this is what it looked like. You got the Levitical priesthood carrying the ark before the children of Israel, symbolizing Yahweh leading them into the promised land. Continuing, thou shalt separate 3 cities for thee in the midst of thy land, which the Lord thy God giveth thee to possess it. Okay, so it's talking about 3 cities in that particular space. Thou shalt prepare thee a way and divide the coasts of thy land, which the Lord thy God giveth thee to inherit, into 3 parts, that every slayer may flee thither. Okay, so it's talking about murder that's happening. Okay, and it says, and this is the case of the slayer, which he shall flee thither, that he may live. Whoso killeth his neighbor ignorantly, whom he hated not in the past, as when a man goeth into the wood with his neighbor to hew wood, and his hand fetcheth a stroke with the axe to cut down the tree, and the head slippeth from the helve, and lighteth upon his neighbor, that he die. He shall flee unto one of these cities and live. Okay, so this is a way for somebody who has killed another Israelite, not a premeditated murder, but this speaks more of an accident. It wasn't in his heart to kill his neighbor. It's just an accident that happened. That when something like this happens, that he's supposed to flee into one of these cities of refuge. Okay, and it tells you why. It says, and this is the case of the slayer, which he shall flee thither, that he may live. Whoso killeth his neighbor ignorantly, whom he hated not in time past. Verse 5. As when a man goeth into the wood with his neighbor to hew wood, and his hand fetcheth a stroke with the axe to cut down the tree, and the head slippeth from the helve, and lighteth upon the neighbor, that he die. He shall flee unto those cities and live. Okay, I'm sorry, I read that already. Lest the avenger of blood pursue the slayer while his heart is hot, and overtake him, because the way is long, and slay him, whereas he was not worthy of death, inasmuch as he hated him not in time past. Right. So the city of refuge is meant for this person who shed innocent, who innocently by accident killed his neighbor, so he can escape. Right. So that way his neighbor's family member doesn't come after him and kill him. Right. Because he's upset, he's mad, he doesn't know what's going on. All he knows is that his beloved family member is dead now at the hands of this other Israelite, and he's not willing to wait for an explanation. He's hot. He's trying to get some revenge. He needs to avenge his family member. Okay, verse 7. Wherefore I command thee, saying, thou shalt separate 3 cities for thee, and the Lord thy God enlarge thy coast, as he hath swore unto thy fathers, and give thee all the land which he promised to give unto thy fathers. Okay, so let's go into... Okay, so this is a depiction of Joshua dividing up the land to the Israelites as to where they should go, which would include these cities of refuge. Okay, and let's read Numbers 35, 33 through 34. So ye shall not pollute the land wherein ye are, for blood defileth the land. The land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it. Defile not, therefore, the land which ye shall inhabit, wherein I dwell, for I, the Lord, dwell among the children of Israel. Okay, so in other words, these cities of refuges, they were set up so that this person who accidentally killed another Israelite, his blood wouldn't be shed. Why? Because he is not guilty of murder. It was an accident that happened. He did not willfully kill his neighbor. It was an accident. So if someone were to come and shed his blood, that would be innocent blood being shed. And this is the law of the innocent blood being shed. Right? Because if you shed innocent blood, then you have to die for that innocent blood. And that's why these cities were set up, so that wouldn't happen. Okay, on to Genesis 4:10 through 11 for another supporting scripture. And he said, what hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground, and now thou art cursed from the earth, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. Okay, so this is talking about Cain and Abel, when Cain slew Abel. And you can see this is what happens. Cain slew Abel, his innocent blood was shed. He did not deserve to die, but his brother Cain killed him anyway. So what ended up happening? He ended up becoming cursed. Cain did. And he was kicked out of the Garden of Eden, right? Because that paradise would not support the sin or the charge of innocent blood being shed. Okay. Wherefore I command thee, saying, Deuteronomy 19:7, thou shalt separate 3 cities for thee. And if the Lord thy God enlarge thy coast, as he hath sworn unto thy fathers, and give thee all the land which he promised to give unto thy fathers, if thou shalt keep all these commandments to do them, which I command thee this day, to love the Lord thy God, and to walk ever in his ways, then shalt thou add 3 cities more for thee, besides these 3. So what is Yahweh saying here? Yahweh is saying basically, if you are merciful, and these accidents that are going to happen in a population as large as Israel, if these men who have accidentally killed their neighbor are fled into these cities of refuge and the laws of God are obeyed, that person's blood is not shed among the other laws in general, that Yahweh will bless your land with even more mercy. And that means more cities of refuge. And this is what Deuteronomy 19:9 refers to. Verse 10, that innocent blood be not shed in the land, which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance. So blood be upon thee. And so blood be upon thee. But if any man hate his neighbor, and lie in wait for him, and rise up against him, and smite him mortally, that he die, and fleeth into one of these cities, then the elders of his city shall send and fetch him thence, and deliver him into the hand of the avenger of blood, that he may die. Thine eye shall not pity him, but thou shalt put away the guilt of innocent blood from Israel, that it may go well with thee. Verse 14, thou shalt not remove thy neighbor's landmark, which they of old time have set in thine inheritance, which thou shalt inherit in the land that the Lord thy God giveth thee to possess. Okay, so now we're moving on to a different subject of landmarks. Now, landmarks were set up ever since the inheritance was doled out by Joshua among all the tribes. So everyone had a landmarker, and that landmarker was very important because it shows people their property boundaries between one another, right? So then that's important because generation upon generation would be inheriting that same land. So these markers were super important that, you know, everybody gets their fair share that was handed out by Joshua through the Spirit of Yahweh. Okay, and so removing thy neighbor's landmark, can you imagine that? Can you imagine you're saying, oh, you know, I like this little bit of, you know, river that's running through my neighbor's property. I think I'll go ahead and move his landmark. That way it can belong to me, right? That's covetous, right? We're not supposed to be coveting possessions that belong to others, but we're supposed to be content with what we have. And you can see why this law was put into action because there are constant fights. I'm sure you probably know of one or two among people living here in Babylon, where they're fighting over property lines and which side of the fence is on whose property line, and where, you know, whose responsibility is this tree that's damaging this property? Who's responsible, right? So you can see that the delineation of property boundaries is very important. Okay, moving on. One witness shall not rise up against a man for any iniquity or for any sin. If any sin that he sinneth at the mouth of two, or I'm sorry, let me start over again. Deuteronomy 19:15. One witness shall not rise up against a man for any iniquity or for any sin. In any sin that he sinneth, at the mouth of two witnesses, or at the mouth of three witnesses, shall the matter be established. Okay, so in other words, you can't just go up to anybody in Israel, living by the laws of Israel, and accuse them of something, because by law that does not stand. You have to have witnesses. You can't say, oh, this probably happened and most likely is the case what happened. If you don't have a witness, you don't have a case. Your case is not being heard. It's being thrown out. But on the other hand, if you do have a witness, you need more than one. You have to have, according to the letter of the law, at least two witnesses. Better yet, three. And when these witnesses testify that they saw the same thing, that they witnessed the same thing, and that their witness agree together, then whatever it is that they witness, say they witnessed somebody moving a property marker, right? They witnessed somebody moving their neighbor's landmark. There's 3 of them out there, they witnessed it. Then they can go to the judges, they can go to the Levites and present their case. 3 witnesses is strong, and so at the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, they'd be able to determine that, yes, the landmark was displaced. Verse 16, if a false witness rise up against any man to testify against him that which is wrong, then both the man between whom the controversy is shall stand before the Lord, before the priests and the judges, which shall be in those days. And the judges shall make diligent inquisition. And behold, if the witness be a false witness, then hath testified falsely against his brother, then shall ye do unto him as he hath thought to have done unto his brother. So shalt thou put away the evil from among you. And those which remain shall hear and fear, and shall henceforth commit no more any such evil among you. And thine eye shall not pity, but life shall go for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot. So let's keep with the moving of the landmarks, right, that show the borders of property and such. So say one man, he agrees to have him and his buddies say, oh, we saw, John over here, my neighbor. We saw John move my property marker to extend deeper into my property, and we all saw him do it. He's trying to make his land bigger, right? But if they're all witnessing falsely against John, right? Then the judges make a diligent inquisition into what happened. What does that mean? They're going to do kind of similar what happens today. They're going to take these witnesses, quote unquote, they're going to separate them. They're going to question them and say, hey, where was the marker moved to? At what time was the marker moved? Unto which landmark close by was it moved to? And if they find out that any of this information is not adding up, their stories don't agree, then guess what happens? They get convicted of false witness. Okay, and that's not something light. So in this particular case, the person who made the accusations, as though John, in this particular example, was trying to expand his property into, his particular area, maybe he would lose some of his property to John for that false witness. Because what does it say? It says, and the judges shall make diligent inquisition, and behold, if the witness be a false witness, and hath testified falsely against his brother, then shall ye do unto him as he had thought to have done unto his brother. So shalt thou put the evil away from among you. So you see that? For every action, there is a reaction, right? And that's how the law works. And the law is good. So I just want to thank you for hanging in there. And I'd like to end with Psalm 29, I believe it is. 29 and 2. Psalm 29 and 2. Give unto the Lord the glory due unto his name. Worship the Lord in the beauty of holiness. Be blessed, everyone. Yahweh bless.